Welcome to the 2023 Infiniti QX50. It's the S for Sport Model. Sport Model is a new designation offered this year. That's the dead middle of the lineup. Price on this is $52,815 for this spec, exactly as we have it here. Of course, it has this gray color, the optional red interior. This has all the bells and whistles that Infiniti offers for this mid-grade 5-seat semi-luxury SUV, which is a very competitive market. This is Infiniti and Nissan continuing to refine what they have as a chassis and technology-wise, which is why this has two different screens, an 8-inch and a 7-inch screen. They do different things. The upper one, as you can see, is Apple CarPlay, Android Auto, all of those things. It works wirelessly. It works very well. It responds just fine. Most of your HVAC controls and the stuff you're going to regularly use are still here in buttons. There is still a volume knob and track select and those kind of things. It's actual tactile buttons, which I do welcome and I'm thankful for. The two-screen layout is, frankly, just odd. It's a really weird way to do it, but it is a way that they can use what they already have and just confirm that and keep it moving forward and try to add new tech to it. This lower screen it's a bit annoying, but you're probably going to use the upper screen most of the time, and thankfully all of the HVAC buttons as well. The steering wheel itself also has normal buttons. You also have paddles, even though this is a CVT. Let's go up into sport mode. There it is, and hopefully that will help us some. This has Infiniti's 2-liter variable compression turbo, which they were very excited about when they introduced it. It is really one of one in the marketplace. The idea is power when you need it and miles per gallon when you don't. The fact that an engine actually varies compression in addition to being turbo is really an astounding bit of tech that really is very impressive. Unfortunately, it's not like you wound up with amazing miles per gallon. The average on this is about 26 or so, 22 city, 28 highway. So that's okay, but in this market segment of everybody else's 2 liters, that's kind of normal, frankly. This 2-liter engine has 268 horsepower, 280 pound-feet of torque, which for a 2-liter is decent. I mean, it's definitely competitive. This is a 4,100 pound, almost 4,200 pound SUV. And as you can see, acceleration's pretty good. See if I can thread the needle here. Oh, hello, sir. The paddle listens to pick another made-up ratio, because this is a CVT. You can hear it. It doesn't sound good. It doesn't sound good. The engine is raspy and kind of unrefined. You combine that with the rubber band sensation of a CVT, and it either is extremely quiet or annoyingly loud. There's no in between. There's no good engine sound here. When you ask it for power, there's a straining sound. Now, it doesn't feel like it's straining, but it certainly sounds like it is, and it really destroys the mystique of this being a luxury experience because of the sound. Otherwise, when you're driving, I'll go down into standard mode. That's fine. This car is really priding itself on being a luxury experience and wanting to be somewhere that you just want to take a long trip and just feel comforted. It has a surprising amount of space. The back seats are very large, plus they slide forward and aft. The rear cargo space is decently sized. The seats do fold mostly flat. This is the all-wheel drive model, and the handling is very sure-footed. I'm going along on a very, very cold but bluebird sky day here in Park City. Temperature currently is 24. It was 5 a couple hours ago. So we've had a heat wave. It's amazing, but it's still very cold today, and it isn't a place for all-season tires, even though that's what this has, and it's still doing okay because the roads, of course, are dry. The all-wheel drive can add that extra bit of comfort if you're a person that is comforted by all-wheel drive. A lot of these SUVs do come with it. You can get the Sport model as front-wheel drive only. This is the QX50S all-wheel drive, which is a specific designation if you're on the configurator actually building one of these. That is one you can start with. The handling it's confidence inspiring and sure-footed, but there's zero information. I'm not learning anything about how the vehicle's operating by actually taking these corners. It follows what I told the steering wheel. It's very kind of disconnected and video game feeling. There is weight in the steering wheel. There is no actual feel though. It feels like whatever weight is happening here vanishes somewhere in the dash. That's as far as the connection goes. Now, obviously, the wheels are turning and the car's going where I put it, but there isn't anything that feels like it links me to the wheels. One of the issues I am having with a drive like this is actually the seats, which look kind of cool with this red and black two-tone. That is one of only 2 options available for this trim, but the problem is that the seat bottoms themselves are not very good. They aren't long enough underneath my thighs, and there's no extension piece, which is frustrating. And they also don't have much bolstering on the edges. It kind of feels like you're sitting on a bar stool where your legs want to roll to the side. And so that definitely is the case here. My legs do want to roll out. And when you're taking corners or you're just wanting to be comfortable and feel like the seat is holding you, this doesn't do a very good job of that. I'm on Interstate 80 here, and this is one of the windier portions of Interstate 80. Actually, it actually has a few corners. We'll go both directions down this. It's very nice. Of course, because it is a major interstate, it gets a lot of 18-wheeler semi-traffic, and so that is constantly going on. And as you can see in front of me here, if I tuck behind him, it's the Rocky Mountains, so it's a world full of monochromatic colored Subaru Outbacks. There's one right there. Yep. That might be a dark blue, but I'm going for a dark gray. Yeah. Okay, I'm going to go back into sport mode. We'll let this person go ahead of me. I'll be nice. I'll let you hear the wonder of the engine and the CVT here. I'll let it shift for itself. So as is to be expected, it has the whine and the rubber band sound that associates with a CVT. It definitely is doing that. There's an acceptable amount of power. It's just that when you actually ask for it, even going onto the on-ramp there, when I put my foot in it, in spite of the fact this is an all-wheel drive, it still fishtails like a front-wheel drive. It kind of wiggles around and salmons its way up the on-ramp until you get yourself figured out. It has decent power, and actually it picks up a little faster than I would have expected. 0 to 60 here is about 6 seconds, which isn't bad, certainly for something this size at 4,200 pounds. But yeah, it just sounds terrible. So if you're a person that ever has moments where you accelerate a lot, and I think everybody in a city area eventually does, you're going to be like, why does that sound this way or feel that way? That is a disappointment. As a commute device, you're not going to notice that. The problem is, that this is an incredibly competitive segment. And at about $50,000 to $60,000, you have other things in this market like the Genesis GV70, you have the Audi Q3 you could chase, you have the BMW X1 and X3 you could chase, you have the Porsche Macan. Now you're going to be hard pressed to find one of those for less than 60 grand, but you could get one maybe at bottom base spec or a year or so used. Those are all better to drive than this. Do you like them better? I don't know. I actually, in spite of the two screens, I think this is a really nice interior. It feels like a very nice place to be. It feels very upscale in here. I don't like the seats, but seats are a personal thing, and you may have an issue with them. There's a panoramic sunroof, which is very nice. This feels luxurious to be in. Some of the SUVs at this price point, you feel the cheapness hiding in it. You don't feel that here. This feels very high-end. It just also feels old with the way the screens are interacted with, and the seats are disappointing, and the engine and driving experience, when pushed, it's not good enough. I'm gonna go back into comfort in an effort to make things get quieter. CVTs, continuously variable transmissions, are becoming more and more common throughout the industry at large. Now Nissan, which of course is Infiniti, embraced them a while ago on all of their lineup and still has more of them just about anybody else. The thing about them is they're great for steady state driving, and they're good for just the typical commute cruise that a lot of people do. As soon as you start driving any CVT hard, it's a weird experience because the interaction doesn't necessarily match what you're driving. It's similar to what happened with early things like the Chevy Volt, where it had a gasoline motor to charge the battery, and the gasoline motor was no way connected to what you did with your foot. CVTs have that disconnected feeling as well. There are a lot of safety systems on this car. The safety systems are excellent. They sense all kinds of things. This has 3D surround cameras and all those kind of things that's important to you. Infiniti does a good job with all of that tech. This is very much set up for the person who likes this brand, likes the luxury feel of this interior, and likes a lot of safety systems. Driving is way down the list on the things this does well, but there are things about it that are worthwhile. If you trick out a lot of the other models I mentioned, it's easy to hit 70 grand. This, in this sport trim, is loaded. It really doesn't have anything that can still be added, and it topped out at 52. If you load one of these out, you might touch 60. If you take just about any of the other cars I mentioned that are real standouts in this category, and you trick them out, it can be 70 plus, which is crazy by consideration. But you have to think about what are you going for, and this has its strengths, but driving enjoyment is not among them.